Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Short Play, a series of quick tours of games I like on a variety of platforms, new and old. Today we're looking at Moero Crystal H, or Moero Crystal Hyper as it's also known. This was a 2020 release from Idea Factory, Compile Heart and eastasiasoft, originally released as a Japanese-only PlayStation Vita title in 2015. Now this is a game that a lot of people never thought was going to come west, but eastasiasoft really came through for us with the Switch port for this. This is the third title in a series called Genkai Tokki, after the collectible card RPG Monster Monpiece and dungeon crawler Moero Chronicle. Now, Monster Monpiece actually got a digital release in the West on PlayStation Vita. Moero Chronicle had an Asia English version and a subsequent official Western Switch port, but this is the first time we've seen Moero Crystal over here. The Genkai Tokki series is primarily known for its fan service content, which is usually themed around demi-human monster girls, but it's always backed up this distinct aesthetic choice with solid mechanics and hours of playable content, and Moero Crystal H is no exception. So obviously I'm only going to be able to show you a little bit of the game today, but it will hopefully give you a bit of idea of what the game is all about. So let's go play Moero Crystal H. Okay, here we are with Moero Crystal H. Now this is an absolutely massive game, so today I can sort of only really show you a little bit of what it offers, but I'll try and give you a bit of a cross-section of what you do in the game and how it works and everything like that. So the basic concept of this game is that you are a character who's come to this town looking for his father, and he ended up embroiled in this whole situation where the legendary treasure, the Bra of Darkness, has been stolen. And so he has to cooperate with a bunch of monster girls to try and retrieve it, and in the process rescue a bunch of other monster girls from the corrupting influence of the Bra of Darkness. So basically it unfolds as a first-person tile-based dungeon crawler, so a gridder in popular parlance, in which you collect monster girls by rescuing them. And you can then form your party from all of those monster girls, and they each have their own set of skills. They have several different sort of job classes they can do based on the lingerie you equip them with, and each and every one of them has an affection value that you can build up as you get to know them. Please try not to read too much into the fact that my affection with Satan is that high, but there you go. Okay, so you'll see some of these monster girls don't have a heart at the top of their affection meter, a big heart. The reason for that is that you have to unlock that. Each of these monster girls has 3 small dungeons inside the deep reaches of their heart. And so a good way to sort of introduce how this game works is to take a look at how we interact with a monster girl, and what you can do with them, and the benefits of exploring those dungeons inside her. So when you're talking to a monster girl, you can give her presents, and different monster girls like and dislike different things. So like if I try to give this portable sandbox to Typhon, she doesn't like that very much, so I shouldn't give that to her again. What about a seesaw? She does like that one though, so I can mark that as a favourite, so I can easily refer back to that in the future. What about a pillow? And again, she likes that one. So you can gift various things that you find in the dungeons to the girls. Now, another way you can build up your relationship with them is through the loving scratch, which you need rub points to perform. In the PlayStation Vita original, this was a touchscreen minigame, but mercifully, on the Switch version, you can do it using just the buttons. And basically what you have to do in this is you have to find various different pressure points that are marked with these stars, and different button combinations will allow you to build up the meter at the side of the screen more quickly. So if they come out with hearts rather than stars, then you build up the meter more rapidly. Now these pressure points are the same each time, so you can basically grind this minigame as much as you want. And that's a quick and easy way to build up affection with the various girls. It only gives you a little bit per minigame, but from there you can build up intimacy without needing to get presents and so on.
It is completely optional though, so if you don't enjoy that side of things or you don't want to do that, you can rely entirely on presence, or also having the girls in your party. The longer you have them in the party, the more their affection will build up as well. Now, probably the most significant thing is Doki Shooter here. When we go shooting, and we depart on a search for crystals, and that takes us into a shoot 'em up minigame. And your aim in this section is to find crystals on the girl's body by dropping these bombs, while at the same time fending off these enemies. And when you find a crystal, you can hold down a button to delve into it, and that will open up one of the dungeons inside her. So this is the skill territory, so that means that if we clear this dungeon, it will unlock a character-specific, unique skill for that character. And here we are, in classic dungeon crawler tradition. You'll see across the bottom of the screen I've got my party lineup that I had set up beforehand. None of those are the girl that we're currently inside, but you can bring the girl that you're diving into along with you as well. So you can build your party how you want to. And you'll also see that each of the girls also has 2 hexagons with little faces in there as well. So when you're building your party, we'll have a look at that when we get out of here. When you're building your party, you can actually assign girls as supporters as well. And they can either support status, which means that they will have an effect on stats, or abilities, which means there's a certain chance that they will trigger an ability each turn in battle. So, into battle. So you see it across the top of the screen, we've got the turn order. Now, this chap with the red hair, this is the protagonist character. He doesn't fight directly. Instead, he has a few options for what he can do. You can store up desire energy each turn, which you can then expend on either buffing the girls or manipulating the turn order. You can use an item, you can do nothing, or you can try and escape. He's the only one who can trigger an escape attempt. So if you want to get away, it needs to be Xenox's turn. So for now, we're just going to say store. And you'll see the desire energy in the corner will start to increase. And at this point, we then have one of the girls. So they have a basic attack, and you'll see on the turn order meter at the top of the screen, it will show you when their next turn will be if you do that particular action. And the same is true for the skills. So you see that different skills have different wait times. Right, let's just try a basic attack on this one here. Not quite enough to kill him. So, again, finish him off there. Now, each type of enemy has an elemental strength and an elemental weakness. This character here, she's an earth type, so she's weak against wind. Now, unfortunately, all of these enemies we're fighting, they're all weak against fire, so she's probably best off just doing a normal attack on them at the minute. She can take a bit of damage. The character in the middle in the lineup down the bottom is the most likely to get hit, so that is the where you want to put your tank character. So Lindworm, who's in the middle there, she's got the most hit points, she's got the highest defense. She's the most likely to get hit, so it makes the most sense to have her in the middle. Now this character here is a mage, and she's got a fire skill that will attack all enemies, so it makes sense to make use of that and deal hefty damage to all of them. And from here we can clean up in an order that minimises the amount of damage we're going to take. And there we go, 1. So, you see that aura bonus thing up at the top there? Aura bonus is if you perform attacks on an enemy's elemental weakness in succession without breaking a combo, basically, you get additional experience points and rub points added to your rewards at the end of combat. So it's worth doing that, because you can actually buff up your rewards quite significantly doing that, particularly in longer fights. Right, and in true dungeon crawler tradition, none of these dungeons are linear. You'll have to explore them actively. Right, who have we got in this one? Are you wind? No, you're not. Alright, we do have some that are weak against Earth, though. And yes, they look like dicks, and yes, that is deliberate. Let's do blow away and hit all of them. There we go, that took out most of them. We should be able to finish this one off with... Oh, no, not quite. Oh no, New Year's gone down. So characters who go down, they don't get any experience points, so you want to try and get them up before the end of combat, ideally. But Xenox, the protagonist, is the only one who can use items, as we said before, so... If his turn doesn't roll around before the end of combat, then you're going to have to get them up after combat, and they'll lose out on a bit of experience. Not the end of the world, though. There we go. Right, let's proceed on our way. Now, that icon there, that is a predefined battle. In this case, it's the boss for this dungeon, so we'll leave that for the minute, especially because this door is locked. We'll turn back. We'll have a look this way. There's another predefined combat behind there. That's not a boss, that's just a random enemy, but it means that there's always going to be a combat in that location. Right, everyone's taking a bit of damage, so I'm going to use an item. Let's use this medication to give 200 hit points to everyone. And yes, those enemies look like a pair of tits, and yes, that is deliberate. And yes, those mushrooms look like a bellend, and yes, that is deliberate. Excuse me. This is a game that is not at all ashamed about what it is, and so, as such, it's not going to be for everyone. But, you know, that's fine. Not every game should be for everyone. I love it. I think it's stupid fun. And we need more stupid fun in our lives. One nice thing that this game does, that I'm always a fan of in dungeon crawlers, is that when you level up, you get all your hit points and all your skill points back. So that means you can be quite self-sufficient. As long as you keep sort of gaining experience and leveling up, you can actually be quite self-sufficient on your expeditions. So I'm actually playing on the hard difficulty right now. You can adjust the difficulty at any time during gameplay. And the main difference is that it makes the enemies have more hit points, so they're slightly harder to kill, but you get more experience for it. And because I've been leveling these characters up quite a bit, because I've been spending a fair amount of time going through these Deep Reaches dungeons, it means that they were in quite a good position. So, yeah, I wanted to bump up the difficulty a bit so they had a bit of a challenge and they were still getting meaningful experience. You take him out. And it just makes things a bit more interesting than mindless grinding. There's actually 4 difficulty levels. So if we look in the system menu and go into settings, you see there's easy, normal, hard, and expert. And they all adjust the amount of hit points the enemies have and the amount of experience you get. Here's some treasure. Fortune teller building material. So, building material I'll explain when we get out of this dungeon, because it's very helpful. Oh no, news down again. Right. You get out of here. Right, the erotic methods. Certain combinations of skills, if you do them one after the other, they will trigger an additional effect. There's usually a bit of extra damage. And those are all themed out after the 48 moves of the, what's it called? The Shiju Hate, which is basically the Japanese equivalent of the Kama Sutra. Shiju Hate, I think, actually has its origins as sumo terminology. It's like the 48 basic techniques of sumo, I think. But at some point, it also applied to sex. So, make of that what you will, sumo wrestling fans. Anyway, as you can probably determine at this point, this is a fan service heavy game. And as I say, that's not going to be for everyone, but amid all that fan service, there is a really, really mechanically solid game. This is an excellent dungeon crawler. One of the best I've played for a long, long time. Those of you who have been following me for a while will know that I've long been a champion of Sting's Dungeon Travelers 2, which is also quite fan service heavy, but also very mechanically dense. And this is honestly, I think, one of the best dungeon crawlers I've played since Dungeon Travelers 2. I think Dungeon Travelers 2 probably still has the slight edge in terms of things like party customization and overall depth and mechanics. But the sheer number of recruitable characters in this, there's 80 different monster girls you can recruit in this, means that you can build some wonderful parties. And really pleasantly for a dungeon crawler, each and every single one of those characters is someone that you can get to know. They have their own little story you can follow. You can talk to them, you can give them the gifts, you can do the loving scratch on them. So yeah, it's worth spending time with all the girls. None of them are just collections of stats designed to just be there for mechanical purposes and nothing else. And that's something I really liked about Dungeon Travelers 2 in particular, because Dungeon Travelers 2 had this this sub-event system where there were several hundred conditions that unfolded over the course of the game, ranging from like the first time you visited a dungeon to particular combinations of party members in your party to whether or not you'd taken a party member with you recently, and that would trigger all sorts of different conversations with them. That doesn't quite happen in this game, but there are interactions between the different party members and so on. When you go and see them in their rooms, sometimes they're chatting with one of the other monster girls. So there's a huge amount of events to explore in this game. Right, this is the boss of this dungeon, which is, as you can see, is just a large version of the one we've been fighting previously. Which probably isn't going to present us too much difficulty, but I'm going to do some buffs just in case. So I've cast regen on everyone. Let's do a heavy earth attack. Yeah, that's taken like 2/3 of his life already, so... like I say, these dungeons inside the girls aren't designed to be super challenging or anything. They are just a means of unlocking various different things. So in this case, we will come out of this dungeon having unlocked a new skill for Typhon. And that will be a unique skill for her. Most of the characters, there's a lot of crossover between skills that are sort of useful common skills. But each character has their own unique character-specific skill that you can unlock through these dungeons. And there we go. I just like to fill in the whole map just because it makes me happy. And there we go. That's that dungeon clear. So the nice thing about those is those little dungeons there, those are really friendly to handheld play because they take like maybe 10-15 minutes to clear. And you get something meaningful out of them. You can get some treasures out of them. You can get some building materials for them. And it's also a means of enhancing the characters as well. Now, I mentioned those building materials. So let's go to the construction menu in the inn. And you'll see you can then select any one of the girls' rooms. And it'll tell you if you have any building materials, and if you have building materials, you can then spend some money to upgrade their room. And when you do that, this happens. So she now has a nicer room. That improves your relationship with them, and it also means that when they're not in your party, they get more of a share of the experience. You can actually turn off experience share if you want to level them up all individually, but practically speaking, you probably want them to level up in the background, so that if you do want to change your party around, you're not going to have to waste a bunch of time leveling up someone from scratch. And there's multiple levels of room. You'll see that some of these people they've got a suite, which looks or a triple room, which looks very nice. Some of them have got a suite, like Satan, my queen. She has a suite at the minute, and her next upgrade is to the royal room, but that costs a lot of money and some building materials that I don't currently have, so she's going to have to wait. She's going to have to wait. Right, party management I talked about before. You can manage your party, which is a case of picking the 5 characters and their positions in your party. And you'll see down at the side you can review their status and you can review their skill lineup as well. And you'll see that each character has a set of skills that they can learn. And they basically learn those by getting experience in battle. So the more they fight, the more skills they will learn. So you can see that Talos there, she's still got 3 skills to learn. Sorceress there has 1 skill left to learn. And Lindworm has all of her skills now, including her unique one. That's the bottom one. New, I haven't unlocked her locked skill yet. So I've still got some work to do on her. Nava has all her skills as well. So then you can look at your companions. So each of your 5 party members can have 2 companions, as I say. They have a skill support, which usually supports one of your stats or maybe provides some resistances to status effects or stuff like that. And then attack support, which occasionally triggers some sort of special ability when there's like a prerequisite, isn't it? So like when the Yoda attacks, or when they use a particular element to attack with, or something like that. So that way, building your party is more than just putting the 5 characters in there. Complementing them with companions is really helpful as well. So, other things you can do. You can go to the Soul Temple. Any battles you fight, you are rewarded with the coloured souls you can see at the bottom of the screen there. And these can be used for a couple of things. First of all, you can release the seals from the girls, and that provides you with special abilities that you can attach to weapons. So, for example, let's take our friend Satan. Status support, so that means that's probably going to affect a stat. So if I release Satan from her seal, that's going to cost me 191 blue souls, 64 green souls, and 43 white souls. So if we do that, Satan's full seal has been released, and that boosts attack by 40, which is actually an enormous amount. So we're going to want to attach that to someone who is already a strong attacker, and it will make them even more unstoppable. So the way we do that is we go seal set. Current ornament is stuff you've got equipped, and current tools is stuff you've got in your inventory. So if we look at our characters here, Nava is a mage, so attack isn't super helpful for her. Nu is a physical attacker, so it would be quite useful for her. Lindworm's a tank. Attack would be helpful for her, but defense is more her priority. Sorceress is a melee attacker, and so is Talos. So basically it's a case of picking one of those and choosing which one is going to be best. It's between Nu and Talos, because Sorceress is already pretty strong, I think. Because she's already got a crystal hairpin there, and you can see down there that that's already boosting her attack quite significantly. Not to the degree of what Satan's seal is going to do, of course, but... Alright, let's put it on Nu. Now, worth noting, you can remove these at any time, so you can swap these around between different bits of equipment if you want, but each piece of equipment can only have one of these seals on it at a time. So, you can see now that New's meteorite necklace boosts her attack by 40, her defense by 19, and her magic defense by 16. Very nice. I'm sure you'll agree. The other thing you can do with souls is you can enhance your equipment. And again, you can do that based on the equipment you've got equipped, or you can do it with the stuff in your inventory. So again, if we go to New, we can take her full meteorite necklace, and we can upgrade that further. And you can upgrade stuff up to a maximum of +9, and that improves. If you look down in the bottom right corner, you'll see the stat that improves when you upgrade it. So different pieces of equipment, they might have good base stats, but it might be that when you upgrade them, it increases a stat that isn't particularly relevant to you. So you have to sort of pick and choose your equipment quite carefully. As it happens, this crystal hairpin for New upgrading her attack is very helpful, so we'll upgrade that to the max as well. And so when that's maxed out, that then means that we can't upgrade it anymore. So we're going to have to look out for things that provide better bonuses to her defense and magic defense in particular. And then we can do stuff like we can transfer over those seals to those as well. Now, who else should we upgrade? Talos is not super upgraded at the minute, so let's give her some upgrades as well. You can skip all those animations, which is nice. So if you want to do a lot of upgrading, you can just skip quickly through them rather than having to watch those animations every time, which is very welcome indeed. What else? We can increase our magic defense a bit with that Scholar's Pendant. And that's worth doing. Magician's Misanga gives her more skill points, so we'll upgrade that a bit as well. And Handguard gives her some defense. Okay, so we're out of blue souls there. That means we need to collect some more from monsters. Nava as a mage can definitely benefit from having some more skill points. And we may as well upgrade Lindworm's stuff while we're here as well. And I think... yeah, so we're out. We don't have enough souls to upgrade anything else we've got equipped at the minute. So that's good. Okay, next place you can do is you can go to the resting place, which, if you look, is very obviously a love hotel. And what you can do in here is you can choose any of your party members to rest with, and when you do that, you can buff up one of their stats for your next expedition. So, for example, if we wanted to buff up Nava's magic attack, for example, we do that, and you see that will boost her magic attack to 94 for 298 gold. If we wanted to buff up... God, her attack is 197 now. She's going to absolutely devastate people. Love it. So you can use this to cover their weaknesses, though. So let's say we wanted to increase New's defense a bit so she doesn't get her head kicked in quite so much. We can do that. Lindworm's probably fine for the minute. Sorceress is probably okay. And we'll give Talos a bit more attack. So when you're happy with that, you hit the button to say rest, you spend your money, and you take a rest. And that will buff up their stats for your next trip out. Now, you can also take a long rest as well, and that will adjust multiple stats, but it picks them randomly. So with that one, you're kind of taking your chances a bit, but it will adjust more than one stat at a time if you do that. Okay, then we got the training place. This allows you to fight against monster girls that you have battled previously, You can also replay the Battle Scratch games that you've played before. And there's also DLC Monster Girls. They were DLC in the Vita original, but they're actually included in this Switch version. So if we look here, we can take on any of these Monster Girls, who are all very, very tough opponents. So these are sort of things you want to probably take on a little bit later in the game. But before we wrap up for today, I will just show you how a Monster Girl battle unfolds. So let's take Satan as an example. There is Satan. So, when you fight a Monster Girl, it's largely like a normal battle, with a few key differences. The main one being that as well as targeting the monster herself, you can also target different elements of her costume. And your aim in a Monster Girl battle is not to defeat the Monster Girl, but rather to build up that EX meter, the excitement gauge, in the top left corner. And the way you do that is either by attacking her body directly, or by stripping off her clothes. Now, if you're attacking her body, you have to be careful, because if you defeat her before you've built up the excitement gauge, she will run away and you won't be able to capture her. So what you instead want to do, at least to begin with, until you're sure you can kind of hold back a bit, you want to focus on the different bits of clothing, and you'll see that fills up the excitement meter quite significantly. And again, you'll see that we build up an aura combo by doing that, and so the different items of clothing, they all have strengths and weaknesses just like normal enemies do, so you can build up your combos and so on in exactly the same way. Now, the reason why you might not want to strip off all of her clothes, I'll show you. So from here, we can now punch Satan right in the tits. And you'll see with every punch, we are not only damaging her, but we're also increasing the excitement meter. So in a lot of cases, it's worth taking off just one of the items of clothing and then attacking her body to finish off, because that gives you a little bit more time in the Battle Scratch sequence that follows. So when you're fighting a Monster Girl battle, they have multiple health bars, and when you empty one of those health bars, she is in knockdown status for a turn, so she's completely stunned for a turn, unable to do anything. So we can... We're going to want to be a bit careful now, I think, because her health is getting a bit low. Right, now Xenox is built up to 30%. We can either release, which buffs up the stats of one of the girls, or we can choose Insert to pick one of the Monster Girls and manipulate her turn order. So let's say we wanted to move Nava here because she's a weaker attacker. We can do so. I think I might defend with everyone except Nava for the minute. And again, we can store up. And Nava, because she's a mage in the back row, she doesn't hit as hard. And again, everyone else defend. They can also charm as well. If someone charms, then they help build up Xenox's desire meter. Xenox can also just wait if you want him to. Oh, I beat her. Anyway, what happens if you fill that desire meter before you defeat the Monster Girl? You then go into a battle scratch with her, and that is how you finally capture her and add her to your party. So that is much like the loving scratch we saw before, but a little bit simpler. So you have quite a tight time limit. but instead of following a sequence... Oh, I can't remember where our points are. Oh, there's one there. You see there's 3 meters at the side of the screen. And you have to fill each of those up by finding a weak spot and doing a bit of tapping. And then wiggle the joystick to rub vigorously. Now, if you don't mind still doing that with the touchscreen, you can do, but it's much easier and slightly less embarrassing if you're playing this in public to do it with the control sticks. Anyway, that's probably enough for now. I haven't shown you any of the main story dungeons because I don't want to sort of spoil anything for you there. That is how this game works. It's a wonderful dungeon crawler that I absolutely love. And so if you're into the idea of something that will keep you busy for a very, very long time indeed, I highly, highly recommend this game. It's fantastic. eastasiasoft have done a great job with the localization as well. It's just a fantastic game all round. And I encourage you to support it because I'd love to see the other Genkai Tokki games released on Switch as well. Alright, let's leave that there for today then. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.